It's always the great debate. Who is it going to be? LeBron, Michael Jordan? But you got to look at this aspect of the thing. Michael Jordan played in the 80s and 90s. It's probably some of the toughest era of basketball. There's no doubt about it. They played to win. There was no love lost, because in the 80s you had the Lakers, Celtics, and Pistons just killing it, taking over. And that was an era that you had to fight through tooth and nail. So when you compare it to today's era, yes, it's a little bit different. So here's a quick question I ask of myself. And feared or respected? Look, everyone feared Michael Jordan. Look, he didn't play for 20 plus years, gather up all the points and stats that you see. Yes, LeBron is the all-time leading scorer and a bunch of things. That's great. Good for him. He's played a very safe career. See, those guys weren't friends with each other on those teams. They didn't want to team up. They didn't want to be part of each other's lives. They wanted to beat each other. And the only time they really came together was the Olympics. And even that, seriously, was not something that I would consider a friendship in any way. Players today don't fear LeBron. Only thing they fear is media backlash if they criticize him. And that's kind of the fear that he brings. Michael Jordan brought it on. So yes, I would have to say when it comes to all-time greatness, it's about results, effectiveness, and absolute dominance in your... See, if there's a way you can do this, it was done in the 90s where they took football teams of all greatest times and they spliced it together. It was state-of-the-art editing at the time. Now, if they could do something like that today, where you take players like LeBron, Kobe, and Michael, who we're talking about, looking at if you take the calibration of Jordan, yes, I believe Jordan would have been extremely fast in the old era and the time. He would be very skilled. He'd be raw. I think he would have some trouble with the fundamentals, which is what the old style of NBA players did. And that's what you do, because those old players had a lot of fundamentals. And therefore, you take that today, you got Bob Pettit, Bob Cousy, Pistol Pete Maravich. Yes, they would probably run circles around kids today because they have the fundamentals that today we don't do. So, if you were to calibrate LeBron in that old era, I do believe if you put LeBron in those era, he doesn't have the skills nor the fundamentals when he came into the league. He really didn't for the longest time. So I think he would have struggled immensely in the old style league in the 40s and the 50s, even in the 60s. That's for sure right there. And you take the physicality of the 80s and the 90s. Look, yes, he has played a long time. Granted, he's done it very well. But the physicality and the pain that those things did in the 80s and 90s, I don't think he would have played as long as he does right now. Because those eras were actually quite rough. And that is a good testament to how much the game has turned into a defenseless game where we just put up points. You see 120 games here, you're seeing a 170 game there, people put up 60, 70 points. That's amazing. Now you put Michael Jordan in the 2000s in his prime, you see with the way we don't play defense today, he doesn't have to play defense. All he's got to do is run up the court and just slam it. He'd probably average a minimum 42 or 45 points a game, actually quite easily. Absolutely no problem. I think he would score all those points, and so that's why I think today he would just absolutely dominate, unlike anything we've ever seen today, anything or will ever see once again. So the question asked, who is the greatest of all time? Greatest of all time is no question about it. He is Michael Jordan. He could play all eras of every sport of this league and in the future. I mean, the biggest thing is this All-Star Game. Who watches the All-Star Game? Right now, nobody watches that at all. And that's without having any elk meat or any DMT rips. That's the most amazing thing about him. He could actually take it out and win at all costs. Now, you watch the game with Michael and you say, I want to be like you. I want to watch the game. With LeBron, I don't see that. And with all that, I don't want to watch the NBA. I have no intentions of it. I'd rather watch a UFC golf match or my Cincinnati Bengals kicking butt every single day. That's what I like. So when it comes to sports, that's the great equalizer. We all come together, and that's our fun.
But if it were up to me, I would say flat out, Dominique Wilkins is the best player of all time. He may not be top 1,000, top 1 million, but to me, he's the number one player. But that's not how we do. It's all about results, championships. The GOAT debate can go on forever and ever, but the biggest thing flat out is, if you're comparing LeBron and Michael Jordan, in the end, it is Michael Jordan. Dominance, fear, and the DMT and elk meat galore the man exudes. It's amazing.